Please, somebody stop me if you've been on this ride before, you've gotten the t-shirt and you've eaten at the cafeteria on the way out. 8-6 win by the Colorado Avalanche over the Edmonton Oilers. Game number 1. We've seen this with the Calgary Flames winning 9-6 against Edmonton. So is anybody surprised? I think we all are. Dingers for days, banana sandwich for days, wide open game for days, goalies non-existent. They don't exist in the West. Offside calls that are offside calls. Defensemen laying in elite goals. Makar and MacKinnon, unbelievable performances for the Avs. Mcdavid and Draisaitl doing it again for the Oilers. Derek Ryan, Cassian, Fogle, depth. Fogle.
Have you actually ever met anyone named McLevin?
No, that's why you picked a dumb name.
Unbelievable all around. There are storylines for days. So why don't we go ahead and talk about it right now? Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about it. So the first thing to note for this series before we get into the offside, folks, is when you're coming off a plane into Denver, I've always believed this to be true. I've Googled it many times. Not a doctor, don't have my MD, not a breathologist, not a real word, right? When you get into that higher altitude of Denver, it has been proven that it can be tougher on athletes. It definitely changes things. So you take the plane ride from Edmonton, you end up in Denver. It takes a little while to get going, and I think that's what ended up happening here to the Edmonton Oilers. In the first period, we were getting narratives like Connor McDavid's been shut down. Edmonton is dominated by Colorado, and they were absolutely dominated. If it wasn't for Mike Smith, that first period is 4-1. I thought Mike Smith made some huge saves. He ends up getting pulled at the end anyway, but was this Smitty's fault? Yes and no. You've heard me say it before. Mike Smith isn't paid enough to do anything but make the first save, and every goal that went in was either Bardowski or across the Royal Road. Don't worry, we're going to break him down at the end. So this is your first time being here. You're going to listen to me talk for a little bit, or you're going to fast forward to the end where I break down goals. Either way, option is up to you. Edmonton just ends up with a bit of a slow start there, and Colorado's used to this. They're at home. They got to sleep in their own beds. They got the fans going insane for this one, and it was just a tough start for the Oilers all around. But the fact that the Oilers are able to actually go in as tight as they are, I mean, did anyone see this score ending the way it was going to end? At the end of the first, it was 2-3 in favor of Colorado. Should say 3-2, but hey, here we are, 3-2 Colorado at the end of the first. But I mean, the shot count was totally disproportionate. It was 8-16, and at some point it was 13-2. So that was crazy. What happens within that period? Well, Edmonton ties it up with a beauty, absolute beauty goal by Zach Hyman there in order, like, even though it was pure dominance by Colorado, you're 2-2 and there's only a minute left in the period. Then what ends up happening is one of the biggest narratives of the game. Not only is it the phantom offside call. No, I'm not talking about the offside call. You've heard me say this before. Do not put the game in the referee's hands. That goes double for the linesman. You control what you can control, and what you can control is not coughing up the puck after a one face-off with a minute left and making an errant pass up the middle of the ice that gets picked off by one of the best, if not the best player on the Colorado Avalanche, Cale Makar, who ends up coming in and going Bardowski. We can talk about offsides all we want. We will talk about it, but there is no excuse for a $9.25 million defenseman, one of the best in the NHL, to make that play. Nurse knows better. He knows better. Woodcroft continued to lean in onto Nurse, and that's fine. You got to run your best players as you have them, and Nurse is not only paid like it, but he's the best on the back end. He has struggled this playoffs. People have told me he's being played. He's being injured. I'm going to pick on Darnell Nurse a bit here, and you all know I am the biggest defender of Nurse. If you've been on this channel since the Jets run last year, if you haven't, welcome. Thank you for being here. But if you've been on the channel since the Jets run last year, I was a big advocate of Nurse becoming a top 4 player for Team Canada. I was excited for him to take that role. We didn't end up going, but I thought he was definitely one of our best defensemen. When you play on Team Canada, you're elite. So Nurse was primed and ready to go for it. He had a career year last year. I thought he deserved the 8 by $9.25 million. What are you going to do? The guy played 60 minutes against the Jets. He's a stud back there. He can play for days, but this isn't the same Nurse that I've been watching for a couple years. Darnell is not making good decisions, and I understand if you're hurt, your brain isn't going to work properly at times because you're playing through pain. That's what I have to understand that this is. I got to believe at this point he's got to be playing hurt. I've just watched him play so much better throughout his entire career, and I just didn't think he was making good decisions here. I think he's too aggressive on his checks for the puck. I don't think he's letting the play come to him. I think he's fighting himself, to be honest, and that play really just emphasized it. So don't put the game into the hands of the referee or the linesman, because you know Woodcroft only told his players after that goal, let's get out of this one, boys. Win that draw, get it deep into their own zone. Don't worry about anything. We will retool between the first and the second, because if you could have got out of that 2-2, different game. But nope, Makar ends up scoring. Now, why is that offside? Look, however we feel about the call, and if you are on the live stream, you know how I feel about the call. I'm a lot more, let's say, blunt on the live stream. So if you want to join those and you see those, come on in, join in. I've said it many times. Referees' calls and the rules for the NHL are just written the way they are. And guess what this one has? Linesman discretion. You heard me say discretion showed up in the rule book 119 times. Linesman discretion is in the rule book as well. So the linesman has the discretion to determine whether or not the player has control of the puck. And what is the story on this goal? I'm not even going to show the replay because there's no point. It's done. It's over. It's just a waste of our time. They are saying because the puck was 2 inches off Cale Makar's stick, he was pushing it forward instead of stick handling, that he did not have control of the puck. That's the same as chipping the puck in. And even though the player was not onside, he was able to tag up because that puck wasn't touching Makar's stick. What did the Canadian broadcasters do? Ron McLean, Elliot Friedman, they got on their phones. They talked to NHL video coaches. The video coaches said the same thing. We would have told him not to challenge this. He's going to lose. Ends up losing the challenge, goes in the box, and we know they end up scoring as well. So they get 2 goals for the price of 1, the Colorado Avalanche do on the Woodcroft challenge. I thought all day, every day that was offside. I learned something new about NHL rules every time I watch this game, and I have been around this game for 30 years. I got 15,000 hours into coaching and every certification you can say, and I had no idea that that wasn't offside. I will be fair. I thought that was the biggest ripoff of a call I've ever seen, but it's not, because that's how the rules are written. It doesn't mean I like the rules, so don't twist it to say, I think good call, bad call. I try to leave opinions like that out of it. It's up to the refs. It's up to the league. That's the rules. That's the way they want to write it. They think they got the call right. The league officials think they got the call right. The announcers who called their friends think they got the call right. So I guess the call is right. I don't have to like the rule. I just got to live with it. There's nowhere else for me to watch hockey. So I am sorry, Oilers fans, if you're salty about it or upset about it. I fully agree. If that was the Jets, I'd be throwing things at my TV. Avs fans are like, whatever. The call's the call. Let's go. 2 goals. So that's the way she goes. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. You can go find someone talking about it for 35 minutes, breaking it down frame by frame. That's not what we're going to do. The point to take away is don't cough the puck up in the middle. Put control where you can control it. You have opportunities to keep it out. Linesmen can't score goals. So that's the way I am going to go ahead and approach this one. And yes, they end up winning by 2. So did that cost them the game? Maybe. But what really cost them the game was their defense. Team defense, both coaches are going to go in. They're going to say the same thing, folks. Woodcroft's going to tell his team, we did a lot of good things tonight, guys. I liked a lot of the great things that we did. Our team defense stunk. We got to help out Smitty a little bit more. Some of those pucks were tough to stop. We had to take him out of the net because at the end of the day, it was 6 goals. But you know what, guys? Smitty played pretty good at certain points. I think that's what the coach is going to say. We don't know what he's going to say, but I'm paraphrasing now. That's what I would be saying. He made some key stops in the first there for us, and we just didn't help him. We play better defense. We can win this series. That's what Jay Woodcroft's going to say. You can't allow 8. Now, they allowed 9 against Calgary. Then they went on a 4-game unbeaten streak against Calgary and won. So they can do it. I understand the Avs are not the Flames. They're a better team, but here we are. The Avs and Jared Bednar, he's going to go in there. And what is Jared going to say? Jared from the Avalanche is going to go ahead and say, we got to play better defense. He's happy they won the game, but he's going to say we have to play better defense. We got to keep pucks out of the net. Darcy Kuemper ends up leaving this one hurt. Very interesting thing happens between the first and the second. This I didn't like. This I think is a bunch of crap. I think this is way more crap than the offside call was. They waited 3.5 minutes to drop the puck for Kuemper. That's absolute BS. You put your backup goalie in and you go. There's a time to start. You wouldn't wait for a player. You don't wait for a goalie. That's pure trash. Delay a game, give them the 2 minutes. That should have been 4-on-4 all day. I have no idea why they did it. Someone from head office or the ref, some discretion, blah, 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 blah. Start the game. I thought that was crap. I thought it was bigger crap than the offside. So to me, they wait for Kuemper. Kuemper comes out and then surprisingly ends up leaving the nets, and it's Francouz that ends up going in. I said it wrong. Everyone's telling me just say Pavel. Look, there's 3 things I can promise you on this channel. You comment down below, I'm going to read it and I'm going to try to respond it. I'm also going to give you one of those little heart emojis if it's a good comment. I'm going to give you a thumbs up if I like it. And I'm going to say players' names wrong, especially Pavel Francouz. So tough. It's part of my charm. It's why I'm here. Too bad. Speaking of things I can guarantee you on this channel, we're going to guarantee you more great content going forward in the playoffs. So Avs and Oilers fans, if you haven't done it yet, go down below, hit that subscribe button for me. Help us keep growing. We're growing like 150 subs a day thanks to all of you sharing the videos, watching. And you know what? How it helps share the videos? Give it a thumbs up. You guys have been doing that like crazy too. We got like 95, 96% likes on this video. Hey, I don't know what I'm doing wrong not to get 100%. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's hockey. It's controversial. Some people ain't going to like the takes. Too bad. So sad. Tough titties, as they say. Like Top Titty over there in Calgary, Tyler Toffoli. But go ahead, give a thumbs up to Coach Ryan D and join the Discord if you want to chat with us. We got some awesome new moderators in there. Big shout out to Jacoby James for building this thing. The kid is a wonder kid. And go ahead, big shout out to our members, all our new members here as well. Part of the coaches staff. We have new coaches staff members that ended up joining in. Thanks for being here, boys. Thanks for being here, girls. Thanks for being here, hockey fans. We love having you on here. And think about joining that member page down below. And if the member page isn't for you, hey, maybe even think about a super like if you want to go ahead, throw Coach Ryan D a tip. Let's get back to some analysis. So speaking of keeping the game in your hands, Connor McDavid took a little bit of time to find his way, but then he ends up finding his way. He ends up getting 3 points. Him and Draisaitl, I thought, had a fantastic game. I see nothing wrong with the way they play, but I think the big story here is the battle of depth. You end up seeing JT Compher, and we talked about the Avs depth. His line ends up scoring that important first goal for the Avs, and the Avs third line, I think, outclasses the Ryan McLeod line for the Edmonton Oilers. But McLeod and Kassian had a wonderful game. Big props to Zach Kassian. One of the best games I've ever seen him play. He looked like a superstar out there. Silky smooth hands. Derek Ryan played a great game. I know we're talking about the fourth line right there, but they played awesome. The Ryan McLeod, Warren Fogle line did excellent. They end up scoring a goal. So when you're getting depth scoring from the Oilers, things are going right. This wasn't just the Connor McDavid show this time. When we think about the goals that went in, this was a true team effort. Kane and Hyman doing this like little trade. Who's going to play on line one? Who's going to play on two? Yamamoto. I've been talking way too long. Nugent Yamamoto are the constants. McDavid and Draisaitl, the constants. Kane and Hyman seem to be flipping. So it makes sense. Kane ends up getting the first goal. Beauty goal there by Kane on the stretch pass. And what we were talking about in the live stream is, I think, two key areas. Number one, Edmonton. Do they want to play a wide open game against the Avalanche? No, but I think that's the only game the Edmonton Oilers can play. They're not going to beat the Avs in a systematic structure battle of the best ways to play hockey. They need to open up this game and torch them on the rush and torch them on the power play. That's Oilers hockey. That's their bread and butter. Sometimes you have a good strength. The Avalanche can play really well in open hockey too. I'm not saying they can't. They're structured and good open. They showed it today. They won the battle of goals, the trading back and forth. But I still think as Edmonton, you have to double down, keep a few of those pucks out of your net. That's the way Edmonton's going to win. Colorado has so many different ways to beat you. That's why they're the smart money in this series. That's why they're the #1 ranked team going into this series. That's why people love them in terms of betting odds or what you're looking at. The Avs are just a super complete team. The second question I got asked in the live stream, and it's fair, is how do you plan for Connor McDavid as a coach? And I played against players that are as dominant as McDavid at the level we've coached at. And when you think about a player that can just take over an entire game like that himself, you got to accept a few things. One, he's going to get 2 or 3 points. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't sit here and try to debate or think about the fact that you're not going to be able to, you're going to shut him out. It's not going to happen. It's a ridiculous goal to have. What you want to start thinking about is, how are you going to outscore and make sure you limit the damage? That's what you're thinking about with McDavid. The thing that Jared Bednar ended up doing here that I thought was awesome is he put the McKinnon line on McDavid, and Cale Makar ends up playing against McDavid as well. That's huge. You put Toews, you put Makar, you put the McKinnon line out, play best on best. Go ahead, let him run McDavid for 45 to 50% of the game. You put your studs out there against their studs. We'll see who ends up winning. And this time it was Colorado. So I don't like putting a checking line out. I don't like neutering the way your team's going to play. I don't like making a whole host of new plans for one player. Just play your game and it'll work out. And I think that's what Colorado ended up doing here. And I think their superstars in Makar and McKinnon were able to handle Draisaitl and McDavid, even though all 4 superstars were highly productive in today's game. So do I think Edmonton can take the next one? Absolutely. Really simple for Edmonton here. They've just got to win one on the road, and then after that, they can take it at home. So I think Edmonton's got the belief that they can do this, but if Colorado hands them another one like this in game 2, I think this could be a short series. Game 2 is going to tell the story because we have been through this in game 1. We've seen it before, been there, got the t-shirt as we said. So now that you got the breakdown, let's go ahead, let's get to some goals. That is a lot of dingers for me to cover, so I don't think I'll get to all of them, but let's get to most of them. On the first goal, Josh Manson here ends up getting caught. Why? Because he should have been backing out of the zone. Instead, he makes this little giddy up here that you can see in his stance, and he goes, maybe I'll go forward, maybe I won't. What that ends up doing is it's going to allow Evander Kane just to bust around him and score that goal. It's funny how a little hesitation here from a defenseman can create an odd man rush, but that is exactly what happens. So you see here, little giddy up, he goes, I'm going to press this puck. He shouldn't have pressed this puck. He should have just backed out. What he is looking at here is that he thinks he is a 3-on-3. So he sees MacKinnon stepping up here and he goes, okay, if I step up, then there's one more player over here. I count 3-on-3, and as a 3-on-3, the right play is for me to go ahead and step up and put pressure on it. The problem was he has bad gap and he gets burnt by it. So because he leaves that gap out, it ends up allowing one of the Johnsons to get totally turned around, and Kane is gone. You got to respect the speed from this guy because he can move. He plays like an Oiler. He is an Oiler. He ends up stretching the ice perfectly. And all Kane's going to do is what he's done most of his career, and he's just going to take a shot. That's what Kane does. He's a shooter. He's got nice hands, but he's got a much better shot. He ends up beating Kuemper top glove side. We've talked about it. The only weak thing on Kuemper is his glove. Kane's done his scouting, ends up beating there 1-0 Edmonton. JT Compher ends up getting his stick on puck, stick in the lane, puck's right here. Compher was able to poke this puck forward, and that's actually going to cause the odd man rush here for Colorado. Shots are only 2-1 at this point. I mean, that's crazy to think at this point. And then that's it. They're gone. Colorado is able to turn it open, and this is what we are talking about. Duncan Keith, what is he doing? He's getting caught exactly the same way Manson got caught. So now you're caught from behind. You have 3 players that are going to come up ice here, and you are in some trouble. The defensemen on both sides of the ice at this point in time getting happy feet, thinking they have a lot more room than they do. You can see a little bit of a stick on puck here. That's just a little bit of a reach in. Burakovsky does a really good job puck protecting that one there. By creating that puck protection, he is able to move it over to his buddy Newhook, and now you have a 2-on-1 because of the happy feet. So as Newhook ends up coming down, what are we going to see? We see Duncan Keith doing what he should do. Here you go, veteran defenseman. He stays standing. He doesn't lie down. He has his stick in the lane. He's trying to take away that pass while keeping him to the outside. He just gets beat. There's nothing wrong with what Keith did here. He did everything right as an elite defenseman should do, as a veteran defenseman should do. Sometimes you just get beat. Keith gets beat. That puck ends up crossing the Royal Road. There's nothing Smitty's going to do about that. It's going to end up hitting it and the top corner here. I mean, that is a near impossible save. So I think Keith ends up recovering beautifully. I think it was an awesome job by Compher, Burakovsky, and Aube-Kubel. Really nice job by the third line here of the Avs. Not much I can say that, you know, was really that bad about this from Edmonton. They just got caught a little bit with happy feet and a simple little puck poke. Here we got Devon Toews, and I mean, Colorado's just opened it up at this point, 10-3 in shots. You got Devon Toews stretching the ice here to Nathan MacKinnon. Beautiful, beautiful stretch pass here. What MacKinnon ends up doing is he comes from the far side. He takes 2 strides, cuts hard across the middle. We call this buying ice. By buying ice, what he ends up doing is confusing the defenseman, catching them flat-footed. And when you end up catching defensemen flat-footed and your name's Nathan MacKinnon, nobody is going to catch you. So MacKinnon ends up turning Nurse inside out. And let's not forget about this. He's not burning a bum of a defenseman. He's burning a $9.25 million man. He's paid more than Nathan MacKinnon. Nathan MacKinnon says, see you later. Bye. Smitty goes for the poke check. Again, I don't see anything wrong with Smitty going for the poke check here. Why? Because MacKinnon is going to cut cross hard across the crease, hard across the Royal Road. He's going to end up trying to put it in. But MacKinnon reads the play at full speed, sees the poke check coming, and as soon as he sees the poke check coming, he puts it between the 5-hole. 28 seconds left here, 2-1 Colorado. Draisaitl finally goes, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's go in tied, boys. He drops it to Mcdavid here in the bottom right corner. So Draisaitl ends up going towards the net. Mcdavid has the puck. These are the guys you want to have the puck on their stick. As soon as they do, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. This is what Mcdavid does so well, folks. When Mcdavid carries up, look, 1, 2, 3 people care about Mcdavid. Even 4 is technically watching him. He's not watching the man behind the net here. People love to watch Connor McDavid. They love to puck watch. Even some of the best in the world are going to get caught in awe by what this player can do. McDavid continues around the zone, and what do you see again? 3 players still on McDavid. He has basically taken 60% of the Avalanche defenders with him, and that is going to allow you to play a 4-on-2 at other areas of the ice. He drops it down here, and this is why McDavid is such a problem. 1, 2, 3. Look, they're turning away. One man can't do it all his own. He needs a supporting cast. Yeah, I guess so, but that main character ends up taking away most of the defense. You better be able to score. You're 3-on-2 down below. You got the talent of these guys. McDavid's taking all the danger away from you. Go ahead, put it in the back of the net. And what ends up happening here is they feed it cross ice. Little bit of a lucky bounce, just a little bit. Zach Hyman ends up putting it in from Brett Kulak here, so it ends up being Hyman's goal. They thought it was Kulak's. Kulak over here, they get it by Kuemper. Beautiful goal, but what I want you to take away is the greatness that is Connor McDavid sucking away 60% of the defenders. Did you just say sucking away 60% of the defenders? Jeez Louise. All right, so what ends up happening here? Like I said, I'm not even going to focus on the offside. It doesn't matter. It's onside. That's the rule. 18.5 seconds left. Nurse has the puck. Simple play up the boards. He is going to do that. He's on his back heels, though. So when we're passing pucks like this, defensemen work on it all the time. They work on passing off their heels. That means he's sitting on his heels right now. Bum is low, sitting on the heels. You don't get a lot of power because your weight is actually going in this direction and you need the puck to go in this direction. But players work on this so much and they're so strong in their upper body strength that their arms should be able to move this properly. But if the rumor reports are true and he ends up having a pulled, torn, or damaged abdomen here, that's what ends up causing it. Look, it's just a short little puck. It's not high enough. It's not strong enough. It ends up bumping off his player's skate. So little bit of a skate bump. I guess I can give Nurse a bit of forgiveness on that one. I thought this one was a lot worse when I saw it live in the game. So a little bit of errant bounce, but I still think you got to make smarter plays than that. He ends up picking it up. It's Cale Makar. He's in. Nurse checks up. So Nurse has already gone backwards. Remember, I said his momentum was carrying that way. He ended up right down here by the game clips, and then he checks up. And anytime you get caught doing a whole bunch of crossovers like Nurse was doing there, you know you're burnt. So he can't keep the gap. The crossovers happen, and Makar just snipes this one. Like, this is an absolute bar down ski snipe. And it ends up becoming 3-2. You just can't let that go in with 14 seconds left in the period. So control what you can. Don't worry about the offside. You shouldn't have had to challenge that anyway. So coach, you're a really smart guy. What would you have done here? Well, you end up winning it back to Nurse, and Nurse ends up backing up and then putting it up the wall. There's really two plays here. You're either looking for a hinge pass over your defensive partner here, Cody Ceci. You're looking to back it up and get it over to Ceci. But with 14 seconds left, what are you so worried about? Go ahead, take your strides. You should be going forward. Don't go backwards. Take 2 strides. Try to get the line, chip it in. You can't chip it in. Worst case scenario, you put it out and over the boards and you take another face off. You're just trying to waste time here. He gets too cute by carrying it into his own zone here. So that one draw, he brings it back in. And this is what I'm talking about with that skill. Look, skating backwards, skating backwards. He goes to pivot forwards. He's on 1 foot and then he pivots backwards again. Like, my dude, you know better. He knows better for sure. Let's go ahead, take a look at it again. What are his options? Okay, it's a little dangerous to go over to your partner here. I probably wouldn't do that. You have 3 guys who are tied up here, so there's nowhere to go that way. So he keeps backing up, hoping someone's going to get open for him, but he is the play. If he would have pushed forward on this one, it would have been okay. However, he ends up going backwards, and what makes this tough is he makes a double move. Okay, you're backwards. He sees his player fall. As soon as he sees his player fall, he goes, okay, I'm going to keep going backwards. As he keeps going backwards, it's just this little pass up the wall here to Kane. But I think it's just a safe play to go even higher off the glass or just put it in the bench. You got to identify when it's a broken play. He doesn't do it. I'm being way too hard here on Nurse, but this changes the entire game. It ends up going off Kane's skate. He ends up it's just tough. It's really tough. And do I expect a $9.25 million defenseman to make that play? I do. I expect it. People make mistakes, but mistakes like that can change the series. And, you know, you got your number 1 guys for a reason. So I think Nurse is going to rebound, though. Great play by Makar. Nurse ends up making up for it a little bit here, though. He ends up carrying the puck into the play. So this is really nice. You want to see your defenseman activating. He ends up taking the zone, staying on side, then bumping it out. And this is actually going to cause the goal to end up making it 4-3. You want to keep these games obviously as tight as you can. So Nurse does the normal zone entry like we've talked about with a million forwards. That's the right play. He ends up bumping it out to his buddy. The one thing he ends up doing is going wide. A lot of forwards do this. You'd rather have them drive the mid lane. If you're going to stay down low anyway, drive the mid lane, move the defenseman back. But no big deal. because what you end up seeing here is you see a player driving the mid lane, and of course he drives the mid lane. He knows, he goes, hey, look, my partner didn't drive the mid lane. It's a defenseman, no big deal. I'll drive the mid lane. And by driving the mid lane here, he is able to put this puck in the back of the net. Really good third line goal here by the depth of the Edmonton Oilers. The McLeod, Fogle, Darnell, Nurse ends up putting it in. So that puck ends up loose. It's a little bit of a bad rebound. This is why you drive the net. Nurse is still driving wide. This is like, defensemen are always going to think about getting back. There was a couple little things Darnell could have done here, but again, not heavily practiced for defensemen at this point. Great job there by Fogle in the third line. We said a key to this series is Mikko Rantanen ends up having to score. Well, you got Nathan MacKinnon, their elite player. Basically, before this goal goes in, there was a good 30 seconds of zone control here by the Colorado Avalanche, and that zone control is going to get the Edmonton Oilers running around. That's why we call it cycles, because it gets people out of position. You hold your position, they won't score, but it's easier said than done. MacKinnon is able to carry the puck up to the top here, and you see all this gap up here. We all know about the Royal Road by this point in time. If you don't, what are you doing? You're not watching this channel enough, and he's going to end up finding Mikko Rantanen sneaking in here, and we said the key to this series is Rantanen's going to have to put in some goals. Well, here he puts in an absolute beauty. So they end up sucking all the defenders of the Edmonton Oilers into a bad position. There's a screen now in front, and Rantanen goes bar in. He hits the far bar in the back of the net here, and it looks like it's a crossbar and bumps out, but the referee's there to make a beautiful call. That is the type of snipe show that Mikko Rantanen can do, and stuff like that is going to change the series. At this point in time, the game is 7-3, and you know what the odds are of coming back from 7-3? Not high, except when you're the Edmonton Oilers. Break all statistics, break all things, tear up the book, throw it away. It's the Edmonton Oilers. If you have math on it, they're going to ruin it. So they end up coming back at this point and making a game of it. And they make a game of it on the back of Leon Draisaitl, who absolutely exploits a laying down defenseman. Hey, we're laying down again, no place to recover. Ends up going across the Royal Road over to Connor McDavid. And the two juggernauts of the Edmonton Oilers start the Imperial March. The Decepticons are on the board at this point in time, and you think, maybe they got a chance.
If I've been calling the shots,
Starscream, only a select few ever leave.
My time will come, Megatron.
Zach Kassian doing his best skill player impersonation here. He forgot he was on the fourth line here for a minute, decided to behave like a first liner. That's how skilled all NHL players are. It doesn't matter if you're a fighter or a mucker, you're a darn good hockey player. Kassian, beautiful puck protection here. I don't think anybody saw this happening. Ends up finding Derek Ryan in front of the net. Not much you're going to be able to do about this as a goalie. These are just tendencies that are going to get goals in. So what a beautiful no-look wraparound pass. It ends up getting a favorable bounce, and sometimes that's what you need if you're on the fourth line. Sneaks out here to Ryan. Look at all this open net. It is going to go in. You want to win games? If you can do it with line 4 and line 3, then you're going to win games. So two really nice goals there between the Kassian line and the Fogle line. The Decepticons aren't done yet. And why are they the Decepticons? I don't know, but that's why I'm calling them right now. And Connor McDavid is doing his best deceiving here. Look, at this point in time on this play where McDavid is looking, all of the Avalanche, including me, I want us to all take a look at his face and his body position. You tell me this isn't going up to the point. I was screaming on stream. I'm like, he's going to the top. And why was I yelling? Because you need to score down low. You want to score on the power play these days in the NHL, down low is going to do better than up high, in my opinion. People are getting too programmed defensively on the PK to handle up high to Tyson Barrie. So McDavid fools everybody, including me on TV. I can't even see his eyes, and he ends up putting it back. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable skill. It's these little nuances that make him so darn good. That ends up going back to his best buddy, Leon Draisaitl. Everybody's screwed. You're totally out of position. You're done. You're boned. Put it in the back of the net. He ends up moving that across the Royal Road, and bang, in the back of the net it goes. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, all he had to do was finish that beautiful play by the power play here. That was something special, something I have never seen before. Every time I end up watching Connor McDavid, I see things that I'm just like, you did that? I feel like I felt the same way when I watched Crosby. Some of these players can just deceive the world. It was unbelievable. It was magic. So there's your breakdown of the game, everybody. Oiler fans, Avs fans, we had a poll before this game. So again, subscribe to the channel. You get polls. You get a whole bunch of great stuff being here. 67% of you said you believe that the Avs were going to go ahead and win this. Thanks for participating in it. You were correct. But I do think the Oilers have life after this series. You let me know down below in the comments.